What's up guys, JM here. Today we'll be covering chapter 23 of arc 5. Before we get into things, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss on future chapter summaries and more ReZero content. Chapter 22 ended with Subaru and Beatrice leaving for the plaza, while Priscilla watches them with an interested look on her face. Chapter 23 opens with Subaru and Beatrice running down the main road. Now that they were out of Amelia's sight, Beatrice asks Subaru what happened. Sorry, we have to talk where no one else is around. There are many things I want to discuss, but we don't have enough time. In fact, we have less than 15 minutes. I understand, I suppose. Explain while we walk, in fact. The witch cult will attack the plaza that we're heading to, and we have to stop their wickedness. Beatrice was speechless and wasn't sure what to say. As usual, you can't say anything, I suppose. Sorry, I'm so unreasonable. Fine, in fact, I'll believe it without any basis, I suppose. They're Subaru's words, so Betty will believe them, in fact. First of all, the Fanart bishop of the witch cult who will appear is Wrath, who is, a pervert. If that's the information that needs to be conveyed, then Betty thinks that Subaru's having bad thoughts, I suppose. Anyway, there's something very important that we'll have to deal with. Her abilities. She can control emotions, or is it sharing senses between people? Controlling emotions and sharing senses? Explaining is a little difficult. If Wrath is overjoyed, then no matter how angry I am, I'll also feel happy. I don't really understand how that's a threat, in fact. Recognizing danger is impossible. No matter how dangerous the situation is, there's no fear. You'll accept it with delight and won't be able to correctly grasp the situation, understand? The sharing of emotions, I understand, I suppose. What about sharing senses, in fact? That's not all. When someone else feels pain, I'll feel it too. If the Fanart bishop's head is cut off, then mine will come flying off as well. It's overwhelming, isn't it? If she's alive, then there's a possibility you'll go crazy by just being near her. If she's dead, then we'll all die too. She's really the worst kind of enemy, troublesome, alive or dead. Subaru begins planning out what they're going to do when they arrive at the plaza. They'll find Larkins and summon Reinhardt. Reinhardt won't attack without asking for details, and they would have a few minutes to spare. Subaru then shakes his head as he realizes what would happen. I'm an idiot. No, I'm a moron. If Reinhardt's called, then Sirius is going to react immediately. There won't be time to explain, just like last time. He needed to tell Reinhardt before he started fighting Sirius, but he doesn't have confidence that he would be able to say it in time. Things could happen just like last time, and he could join the crowd in yelling. Subaru, there's still more bad news, in fact. Seriously, I don't want to hear more bad news. I understand, I suppose, but I have to tell you, Betty would be useless in a battlefield with Reinhardt, in fact. I'd just be a cute little girl, I suppose. What? Reinhardt acts as a beacon for mana. The surrounding mana in the atmosphere will follow him blindly, causing damage to the environment, which becomes a burden to him. Spirits and magic users will be unable to use mana, and I won't be able to do anything. What the? That there should be a thing. Then it dawned on Subaru as he recalled the events of his first day in this world. Amelia had mentioned that magic became ineffective when Reinhardt used his true ability. If Reinhardt can solve the problem, then it wouldn't matter if Betty can't do anything, in fact, but if just Reinhardt isn't enough, Bayaka won't have the option of being useful. Subaru started getting anxious as he started losing hope. While Subaru was lost in thought, Beatrice spoke up. Subaru, we're at the plaza, in fact. While Subaru's face started to tense up, they only had 10 minutes left. Beatrice then continued. Subaru, I might have come up with a solution, in fact. You came up with a solution? I might be wrong, but Subaru's description of Rat's ability sounds familiar. I'm thinking of a higher level magic called Nect that has a similar effect. Subaru remembers the time he and Julius used Nect against Betelgeuse. So is there any counter for Nect? Usually countering Nect is unnecessary, I suppose. It is intended to unite comrades and express feelings, in fact. Using Nect as a weapon seems strange, I suppose. Normally there's a condition for Nect that requires contact through mana circulation, in fact. The Archbishop's authority probably has the power to circumvent such a condition, I suppose. So her authority can forcibly achieve it. More than that. How to counter it, I suppose. Shamak is the most obvious answer, in fact. Shamak is rooted in altering consciousness. It's a magic that forcibly breaks the mind's contact with surroundings, I suppose. Subaru uses it strangely, in fact, but Betty doesn't have any problem with it at all. In other words, when the magic is casted on the crowd, everyone's mind will be blinded with Shamak, and the Sin Archbishop shouldn't be a problem, in fact, though I'm worried about whether or not I can control it from affecting you, I suppose. Alright, good. I'll be depending on your magic. Then, what's next? Aside from Reinhardt, who can defeat the Sin Archbishop, in fact? Subaru went quiet. If they called Reinhardt, they wouldn't be able to use Shamak. The only person who stood a chance against Sirius was Reinhardt. Speaking of which, since Betty needs to maintain Shamak, Betty won't be able to fight, in fact. That's right, then we're back at square one. Without Beatrice, Subaru stood no chance against Sirius. Subaru wonders if there's any capable fighters at the plaza, then shakes his head at the thought of it. What a stupid train of thought, asking strangers to trust me. I don't think there's anything I haven't thought of now. In that case, should I play a part since I know of your strength? A sudden voice from behind pierced into his hopeless thoughts. It was a very familiar voice. Subaru and Beatrice looked back in surprise, standing behind the two with their hands on their hips. Amelia, why are you here? Subaru seemed to be acting strange, so I was worried that something bad was happening. It looks like that I was excluded. That's one of Subaru's bad traits. You should have stayed in the park, in fact. Why did you come, I suppose? I couldn't just wait. Subaru told me to stay, but Priscilla told me otherwise. That woman in red? She said that if I didn't follow you, I'd certainly regret it. When I caught up and saw that nothing had happened, I thought about leaving quietly, but you two seemed to be discussing something serious. Subaru began cursing Priscilla under his breath. Amelia, I'm happy. I'm glad. So from now on... Amelia cuts him off and continues. The witch cult will appear? I heard you. Even if Subaru tells me to go back, I won't. This concerns me too. We'll manage something. Amelia doesn't need to be involved. This has nothing to do with you. Even so, what if Subaru's hurt because I'm not there? I'd never let that happen. If Subaru fights, I'll fight by his side. If Subaru wants to protect something, I'll do my best to help. And since Subaru will certainly protect me. Subaru goes quiet as Amelia continues. I also want to protect Subaru. I promise I wouldn't cry like that anymore. In order to keep her away from danger, Subaru had to summon every drop of his courage, face adversity with a heart of steel. However, Subaru right now was afraid. He was terrified of fighting. 3 times he had died already. Beatrice then speaks up, which gets Subaru's attention. Subaru, you should give up, in fact. Beatrice. Amelia is stubborn, I suppose. She won't change her mind, in fact. Betty also understands Amelia's feelings, I suppose. Betty wants to protect Subaru in the same way. Betty isn't able to deny her that, in fact. Subaru sighs and finally gives in. The witch cult will target you. If that happens, think of yourself as a priority. I understand. Even if I'm caught, Subaru will definitely save me. I believe in you and I'll do my best. Amelia, soon a strange person will appear on the tower. Attack them with a big shot. Having her fall from the tower would be ideal. Afterward, Bayako will prepare her spell, so when the signal comes, we'll start fighting. I understand. Although I do not know if things will go that smoothly, I'll try. Subaru looks up at the tower and notices that Sirius is looking out the window. She's here. Sirius begins to clap to get everyone's attention for her speech. Before she could start, Alhuma. A huge icicle flew and struck the tower with a violent crash. Subaru's jaw dropped in amazement. Amelia? Subaru said we needed to strike first, so did I mess up? No, good job. I just didn't expect you to attack before her introduction. Bayako, what do you think? First of all, think of a way to address the misunderstanding people around us, in fact. Subaru slowly turned to face the uneasy crowd. Well, what do I do now? Explain that we didn't mean any harm? Amelia nods and tells him he better do that. While Subaru scratched his head, pondering the explanation, Amelia suddenly grabbed his shoulders, placing herself in front of the crowd. In that moment, a crack sounded through the air, and a blue sword of ice appeared in Amelia's hands. She assumed a battle-ready posture, facing down the crowd. Amelia, you don't need to go that far. It's not that. Look closely, Subaru. There's no sign of sanity. Subaru looks at the crowd and is greeted by bloodshot eyes staring back at him. Subaru turns to Beatrice, confused on why Shamak didn't work. It failed, I suppose. What? This magic is nothing like Nect. No, it's evil, in fact. This is nothing like magic, I suppose. A curse. It is magic, in fact. The crowd begins chanting, it stinks. Emerging from the rubble was a seriously injured Sirius. Half of the bandages on her body were stained with blood. Disgusting. The stench of that woman. Filthy and detestable. The stench of the one who stole my husband from me. The stench of maggots. Endless filth. Hate. I hate it so much. Burning it to cinders is not enough. What are you saying? And that other woman. She's obviously not that person, but she has such a similar stench. How shameless. The stench of rotting insects. Are you testing the love for my husband's spirit? Were you not satisfied with taking my husband from me, you half-witch bitch? Amelia held her sword of ice ready as she stood in front of Subaru and Beatrice, guarding them. Sirius charges at Amelia with red flames. I am the witch cult Archbishop of Wrath. Sirius Ramane Kanti. Damn half-elfin spirit, I'll scorch your corpses and scatter your ashes at my husband's grave. And that sums up chapter 23 of Arc 5. That was a great chapter. Amelia has joined Subaru and Beatrice in trying to stop Sirius. Looks like we have to thank Priscilla for having Amelia come to help. I think Amelia is one of the best people around to deal with Sirius. She could capture her in an ice prison so she can't get out and harm people. Let's hope that Subaru and the others will be able to solve this loop now. Let me know if you guys have any theories, predictions, or thoughts about the chapter or going forward in the comment section down below. I'll be reading all of the comments, then responding to and discussing 3 to 5 comments in the next video. Now to get into 3 comments of the last video. The first comment comes in from Will Lopez. They wrote, I hope when the Reinhardt scene gets animated they linger for a few seconds on Reinhardt's shocked face. It's unsettling having the strongest character seem shaken. It ups the danger level of the archbishops and humanizes the sword saint. I agree with you. It would be a great way to shock the audience. Anime onlys will not be ready to see Reinhardt lose and be shocked. The second comment comes in from Hightower. They wrote, ironic how the more people see him as a monster or weapon, the more invincible he seems to everyone, but when seen as a human being, he's quite easy to manipulate. For example, Heinkel threatened to kill Fell to get him to do what he wanted. Just like all of us, his reactions are human. It is pretty ironic, but that's what makes Reinhardt such an amazing character. The final comment comes in from Zen. They wrote, I hope when they make season 3 they will animate the fights well, maybe even a collaboration with another studio. I just want this Reinhardt fight done well. Same here, I think they might outsource season 3 to the studio with the former director and staff of season 1 and 2. With that being said, thank you so much for the support as always. If you don't want to miss out on future Arc 5 summaries and more ReZero content, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.